By now, many of you should be familiar that you could earn 5% per annum effective interest on the UOB One account. And the requirements are rather simple. You first have to spend a minimum of $500 on either of the eligible credit cards and credit a salary of $1,600 every month. The salary credit is a rather straightforward criteria, but how about the credit card spending? Because earlier this year, I did publish a video on UOB One versus UOB Evo. Which card should you choose to qualify for this credit card spending criteria? And in that previous video, I specifically excluded UOB Ladies Card because men were not eligible to apply. But coming to the current state, men can now apply for the UOB Ladies Card. So I shall put the UOB Ladies Card together in comparison with UOB One and UOB Evo. Which one is the card that you should choose for your own lifestyle? Now, to answer a very popular question many of you have asked on my Telegram group, can you make the spend transactions on multiple cards to accumulate that $500? For example, UOB Ladies plus UOB One combined? The answer is yes. But my follow-up question to that is, why do that? Because it's already hard to meet the minimum spending on one card. Now, if you want to diversify across different cards, it's going to make the criteria more difficult to achieve. Now, when we are doing the best one out of these three cards, you probably have some expectation of the answer being, it depends on your situation. While this is mostly true, I will also provide my preferred option so that you can think from my perspective if you have a similar lifestyle. But ultimately, you have to make your own decision because I do not know about your personal lifestyle. And of course, if you're not happy with my viewpoints, you're welcome to join our Telegram group of over 9,000 members to post a healthy debate on what are your viewpoints with the community of experts out there. Join us at Honey Money SG. For the purpose of today's discussion, I'm going to put an ideal scenario versus reality, because most of the time the credit card companies out there put a very nice scenario, like you can get the maximum cashback and the maximum miles. But is that really realistic to every single one? And with that, let's move on to our first option, which is UOB One Visa card. UOB One is a very popular card. It gives 3.33% base cashback plus 5% additional cashback on specific merchants. In short form, we call them ACB merchants for additional cashback, and this will include merchants like Shopee, Grab, Simply Go, and Dairy Farm International Group merchants like Guardian, Cold Storage, 7-Eleven, Giant. The ideal scenario for using UOB One card is to hit as close as the minimum tiers like $500 tier, $1,000 tier, or $2,000 tier, because you will only get your specific cashback tier according to each spending tier for a consecutive spending of 3 months within the qualifying quarter. For example, you make a $500 monthly spend and all your spend is on the ACB merchants, so you will get effectively 3.33% base plus 5% bonus, summing up to 8.33% effective cashback, which also means that by the end of the qualifying quarter, if you make a 3 months consecutive spend of $500, you will earn a total of $125, which is 8.33% of $1,500. Like I said, this is the ideal scenario because it is assumed that you're making every spend on ACB merchants, which qualifies for the additional 5% cashback. But the reality is, you probably have other spend on the UOB One card such that they are not ACB merchants, which means they will only earn the base 3.33% cashback. And if some of your spends are not ACB merchants, it will also mean it is very hard to hit exactly at $500 minimum spend tier every month. You probably hit like $400 ACB and maybe another $100 on non-ACB. The second realistic thing that may happen to you using UOB One Visa is that you may miss the spend criteria due to a variety of reasons, like late posting on the merchant's end, or if the merchant suddenly refunds your transaction because you have cancelled the order or something, and that would demote your tier for the month. For example, you were trying to hit that $1,000 spend tier, but suddenly you receive a refund of $10. Now you have fallen to the $990, which means it will be rounded down to the $500 spend tier. That is still not the worst, because assuming if you are hitting the $500 tier, and then you suddenly receive a refund of $1. Now, because your spend criteria has reduced to $499, you will not hit the minimum $500 spend tier, and your entire cashback for the whole qualifying quarter for UOB One is gone. So I would say the UOB One card is really good for people who have consistent monthly spending. hitting that $500, $1,000 or $2,000 tier, and mostly spend on the ACB merchants to get that additional 5% cashback. The UOB One Visa will be really bad for people who have no discipline on their cards and they do not track their spending and they do not monitor where they place their spend on, or they are not careful with merchant refunds and cancelable orders. That may lead to all your efforts going down in vain to qualify for the UOB One cashback. So how does the UOB One sound to you? Is it really good? I'll come back with the 2 more options after a word from the sponsor. Do you know Weibo just upsized the offer and now you can get up to $1,000 of free shares? And I'm not going to tell you that you need to do some buy trades because no need. Neither am I going to tell you that you need to fund at least $300 in cash because also no need. So what I need to do? Very simple, just fund any amount, even $1, and you can get 5 free shares. Then hold your deposits, do not withdraw for 30 days and you'll get another 5 free shares. The free shares are totally random from this list and it could range from $3 to $100 each. So you see, the maximum reward is $1,000, but at the very minimum, you will get $30. You see, there's really not much to do. Just open an account with my referral link, put in $1, and after 30 days, see your luck. What shares did you get? So use my referral link down below or scan the QR code right here to get your Weibo account today. Let's move on to our second contender, the UOB Evo Visa card. This card advertises up to 8% cashback, but you should know by now it's just a marketing gimmick because there is a $20 cashback cap on the 3 categories, which are mobile contactless, online, or others. The 8% cashback only applies to the mobile contactless and the online category. Others, you only get 0.3%. So we shall negate that and only focus on the mobile contactless and online category. But each cap being $20, your total effective cashback is coming up to a max of $40. That will also mean if we take $20 divide by 8%, that comes up to $250 each for mobile contactless or online category, and that is the ideal spend. And the 2 summing up will give you $500. So in a typical ideal scenario, you want $250 of mobile contactless spend, $250 of online spend, and $100 on other spend. And at this maximum, you will get $40.30 cashback. But like I said, this is an ideal scenario. How many people can really hit exactly $250 mobile contactless, $250 online, and $100 other? The more likely scenario is that you hit $300 of mobile contactless plus $300 of online spend because you need to hit the minimum spend requirement of $600. And as I said previously, don't focus on the others cashback, just focus on the mobile contactless plus the online spend, which gets you a total of $40. So $40 cashback divided by $600 is an effective 6.67% cashback. So I would say the reality versus the ideal scenario is not too far off, and spending on the UOB Evo card is quite versatile because you could adjust either of the categories. Like example, you could spend $350 on mobile contactless this month, and then you spend $250 on online spend, totaling up to $600. You will still get that optimal $40 cashback. So my review of UOB Evo card is that it is really versatile and the effective cashback is really quite high at 6.67% cashback per month. Moving on to the last contender, which is UOB Ladies Card, and this time I will specifically talk about this card because men are eligible to apply for it now, where you could earn 6 miles per dollar on your selected categories up till 29 February 2024. For the Pink Ladies Card is the entry-level 30,000 annual income card where you could select one category and 6 miles per dollar will apply on your first $1,000 of eligible spend per month. But if you are earning a higher income of $120,000 per annum, you may apply for the Ladies Solitaire Card where it will grant you 2 categories to earn 6 miles per dollar on your first $3,000 of eligible category spend. The ideal scenario of UOB Ladies is very simple. Make sure you can hit a consistent monthly spending of at least $500 on your selected category, and it could come in any of this like travel, dining, family, beauty and wellness. But the reality is sometimes you would not hit that $500 spend per month on that selected category because you may have a frugal lifestyle. And since you did not meet that $500 spend, you will not qualify for the UOB One account interest of 5%. So here is my reality. I am using the UOB Ladies Solitaire Card monthly to pay $1,000 to the hotel for my wedding, and hence I could easily qualify for the spend criteria of UOB One account. But here's the thing. after my wedding, where I do not have any balance payments anymore, am I gonna consistently hit at least $500 on the selected categories? The answer is I'm not confident, because even if I combine both travel and dining, I may not even spend a combined total of $500 per month, and therefore I'm likely to move back to UOB Evo after the payment for the wedding, because the UOB Evo is more suitable for generalized spend pattern. You could spend it on almost any retail category, not just limited to the selected categories of the UOB Ladies Card. So overall, here's my verdict of the 3 cards. For those of you who have a lot of spend on ACB merchants like Simply Go, Grab, Shopee or Dairy Farm Group, you could choose UOB One, because a lot of your spend will be eligible to hit the 8.33% effective cashback. For those of you who spend a lot on specific categories, like you spend more than $500 monthly on dining, then you could choose a UOB Ladies Card, because you will hit $500 easily on that selected category. But do note that these 2 cards, UOB One and UOB Ladies, they are specialized spending cards, because you could only spend on those categories that earn you maximum cashback or miles. And for generalists, I think it's preferred that you go choose the UOB Evo card, because after my wedding, I also prefer to go to the UOB Evo card, so that I do not have restrictions on what merchants I need to spend on. As long as they accept mobile contactless or online, I'm good with UOB Evo. So question of the day, which card do you think is the most suitable for your own lifestyle? You may leave a comment down below. But if you really want to know what are my top 5 credit cards for 2023, I could show you my options and my review of these 5 credit cards right here.